Hi, Marianne Croce here from Small Biz Vantage and the creator of 3 Day Weekend System. I'm glad to be here each and every week to do these, what I call auto shop success. They're lives. I do them in 15 minutes, and I do them for a couple of reasons. The first one is for you to look at your business, your shop, from that 30,000-foot view. I find that most owners that I talk to are so caught up in the day to day that they're not looking at that big picture of their business. This is really about not working harder, right? Working more on the business than in the business and making that transition. A lot of people find that valuable when it really clicks. So it really is a competitive edge, a vantage, if you will, if you were to be able to do that. So 15 minutes a week, that's all it takes. The second reason I do this is for you to take one action item away each and every week and implement it. Small changes will cause a ripple effect in your business. It doesn't have to be these massive changes all at once. And I find also that it's a habit. So when you get used to making small changes, you do even more of them. And it really does have that effect, that impact on your business and your team. So people have asked me, Marianne, who do you work with? And I work with single location auto shop owners. Those are the ones that resonate with me really well. And they are the ones that really want to stop and have a life. They don't want their business to consume them. They don't want to feel like they're going 24/7. So they want to let go of some of it and they want to have a life as well. Guilt free. When we get on calls, that's what they tell me, guilt free. So that's where I come in and I help. So each week I send out an email to my list. And then on Tuesday, I go live and I go a little bit deeper on that topic. These are topics so that you're going to stress less and you're going to have more success. And I do this to just share them, to give back to the industry. So this topic today, if you find it valuable, please share it with another shop owner that you know that you feel will get something out of it, that'll find it valuable. I find that this group is a very giving group. There are many in the automotive industry that are there to support and help others. So that's why I encourage that. So let's get started. Why change feels hard? Change is part of life. That's the episode what we're going to talk about this week. And it's not only why it feels hard. Sometimes it even feels messy. It gets messy. And what it is that you can do about it. So the idea here is let's make change easier for you, your team, by understanding the change curve. Maybe some of you have heard of it before, maybe you haven't, but I'm going to put this in the context of our industry and what we do every day. So if you've ever introduced in your shop a new tool, a system, a process, and it felt like everything actually got worse before it got better, then this is for you. This is really part of building a profitable, sustainable, and enjoyable business. Very important to do this. Basically, a profitable, sustainable, and enjoyable business is what I call a 3-day weekend shop. So what is the change curve? I want to walk you through the 4 emotional stages of change. And I want to share with you everyday shop examples so that this is relatable. So the first emotional stage of this change is shock or denial. So let's say you were to bring in, for example, a new DVI system into the shop. This shock and denial, people would be saying things like, well, we've always done it this way. Why do we have to change? It's working. Or your technicians may pretend that it's not there, or they may say it's too complicated, or, they forgot to use it. That's when people are in that shock and denial stage. The second stage is the frustration and resistance. This is slowing us down. An advisor, the example I want to use with this one is an advisor complains that something new that you put into the shop, right, adds 5 more minutes per write up. And then tension builds, and you start to question the whole idea of doing it this way. The third stage is exploration. That's when people realize that you're going to stick with it and that this is the way we're going to do it. So then they start to say, okay, how do we make this work? So the techs begin to see fewer comebacks, customers engage more, and it starts working in the shop. And the last part is commitment and growth. And here is when you'll hear people say things like, why didn't we do this sooner? Because now it's the new norm. You really now have a team that's aligned. You have a better ARO, there's less stress, there's all different ways that it can show up. And it's funny because sometimes the people that were the most resistant, that stayed in shock and denial for the longest period of time, end up being the ones that when they get into this commitment and growth phase, they act like they've always been on board. So it's kind of funny, right? Human nature. But the key point here is most owners quit or they backpedal between that frustration and exploration phase, right? Before those stages, when they're in those stages, and that's really the danger zone because you come so close to quitting or saying, forget it. I'm just tired of this. So what this looks like for the owner, what you have to keep in mind is a couple of things. You're not just paying attention to your team's reactions. You're also looking at your own because you are an example and you really have to take control and really manage your own reaction. And then you can monitor your teams, but you have to make sure that you're in check and that you're going to commit to any kind of change. You have to go all in. There's a difference between just being interested in something and really being committed. There's a big difference there. So the shop owner who resists delegation usually isn't afraid that their team will fail. They're afraid that they're going to let go now of being the hero, the one that goes in and saves the day all the time. How do I let go of this? How do I hand this off? Right? I'm not going to be the one in charge. There's a sense of loss of control. But you actually gain control when you're working more on the business than in the business. And when that light bulb moment goes off, I hear it all the time from people. So I want to give you an example of this. If you finally decide to stop ordering parts yourself, the first week, there's going to be chaos, right? Wrong parts, delays, and your gut says, oh, just take this back. It's not working. But the next week, if you coach your team and you talk to them, the next week it improves. And you know what? By the third week and the fourth week, you haven't placed an order in days. Now that's growth. That's what you're looking for. You're not looking for perfection. You're actually looking for growth. So change is messy before it's meaningful. It happens with everything. It happens when you're having work done in your yard, and you're outside and you're cleaning up some shrubbery or whatever. It doesn't look beautiful at work at first. It looks messy and the yard has to be cleaned up and the stuff has to be carried away and the leaves and the mess has to be, blown out. But then it looks great. So it's the same thing. Change is messy at first. Now, there's also personal change. And that makes a big effect too. Time with loved ones, time for self-care. Those are things too. So this doesn't only work professionally. When you understand the emotions in this change curve, it actually works personally as well. So why this matters for a 3-day weekend shop? Well, you can't build a self-sufficient business if you avoid discomfort. There's just no way that the business can be self-sufficient, that it could run without you if you were to go away, if you had an emergency and you had to leave for an extended period of time. It's not going to happen if you're not willing to get used to being uncomfortable, right? And you avoid discomfort. Every system that you want to delegate, every process you want to improve requires a dip in performance before it pays off. It's that people have to learn. So the goal isn't to avoid the change, right? That's not it. It's to understand that change curve, leading through it, and not quitting mid-curve. So each week, I leave you with a pro thinking tip. So discomfort is not a red flag. It's not a warning sign. That's not what it is. It's not like, okay, flashing red lights, something's happening because I don't feel good about this. Discomfort is really a roadmap. It's a roadmap. Growth never starts in your comfort zone. If you're doing what you're always doing, you're not growing. So what we have to do is we have to normalize the mess, expect it. It's part of the process. And if you stick with it, future changes become less emotional and they actually become more strategic. So I always give you a action step that you can put into action each and every week. So here it is for this week. What is one change that you've been resisting? Does it have something to do with delegation, better tracking, raising rates, hiring help? There's so many different ones, or it could be a personal one. Include a personal one. And then when you think about it, write it down. Or if you're a digital person and you like to take notes that way, write it down and ask yourself, where are you on that curve when it comes to actually making change happen? Where are you on that curve when it comes to that particular thing that you've been resisting? And then decide what is the very next step to move forward. Because we can kind of get stuck in our head and that can hold us back. But if we decide what the next step is, that action step to move forward, that helps us do it. So if this hits home, I want to remind you again to share this with another shop owner who's stuck in the middle of the curve. We all know somebody who is. And if you want to grow your shop without you going 24/7, I'm here for the journey. You can always reach out, build a business that really lets you have a life as well. So that's it for this week's Auto Shop Success in 15 minutes. I'm so glad that you're here. If you have any comments, please place them in the comment section. And if you watch this on the replay, I will respond to all of your comments as well. So thanks for being here and have an enjoyable week.